If you need to remember that, Monday 1 day, Tuesday 2 day, Wednesday what day? Thursday the third day.
What?
I love that drop. What? Anyway, welcome to Monday. And we've got some things to talk about. Do you guys remember? It wasn't that long ago. We're all kind of like wash, rinse, repeat. This Stars team is a wagon. We don't really have much. We're nitpicking little things. Seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? We got lots to talk about, and it isn't nitpicky. We'll start our DLS Stars pod right now. Hey, everybody. Look who it is. It is the DLLS Stars podcast on Monday, January 19th. I don't think I've ever seen Craig Ludwig wearing glasses that aren't sunglasses.
Those are nice.
Sam Nestler is wearing a hat. That's nothing new. Ryan Vaughters, our producer, is here as well. I'm Owen Newkirk. And, of course, Sean Shapiro, as we like to wish everybody a very happy MLK Day here on the show. I will happen to notice that there is a new hoodie out there, and we all happen to be wearing it. Well, Sean, yours is in the mail, or will be soon, because we actually saw yours.
It's here.
Oh, wow.
Because
You're not here, though.
our DLS diehard superstar, T.O., purchased all five, Ryan,
Yep.
and for the four of us. So
Wow.
your Finnish Mafia hoodie is physically here. It's been delivered, and it will be shipped to you.
Have we changed? Has this been reflected in your 3 stars of the week selections for you guys?
Oh,
that
we
would have
totally-
been great if we knew before.
No, we've literally found this out half an hour ago. So that's a great thought, Sean.
Okay, I think that's. There's amongst all of the other options, he could be an easy number 1 right now.
Yeah,
So-
Ryan, we need you to make 4 new graphics.
Yes,
in the next 3 minutes.
All right. Well, if you'd like to get one of these yourself, and they are very soft, very comfortable.
Yeah.
Everybody's complimenting on how it feels. Go to alldlls.com and buy one for yourself. If you're a
Like
diehard,
soft.
you get 20% off. So I think they're really sharp. They're super cozy. We're wearing them all. Luds?
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
you're done with the blue lights.
I couldn't believe you lasted that long.
You see blue lights now.
All right. Our main topic today is talking about the Stars being in a ditch and how do they get out of it. But before we do, we wanted to start this week with our 3 stars of the week so that we don't veer into the conversation, which I know is going to get passionate, and then try to then cram 3 stars in later. So let's do them off the start, and then we'll move into our main theme of the day. So since he's here, let's give Sean the floor to start this one, Sean. Go ahead.
For the 3 villains, we're going to start with the 3 villains.
Let's
of the week.
start right away with the villains.
Yeah, let's. It's obviously a number 1 here is the Stars offense. We've got 3 straight 1-goal games. It is anemic. We will speak about that at length. John Marino gets the 2nd star for his showing against Dallas in that 2-1 game against Utah, and then it's Lucas. It was actually tough because there was about 4 or 5 other guys to consider for number 3, but I went with Lucas. Normally, there's not a ton of villains to choose from, so this week there was a lot. So Lucas Dostal got the cut because I thought as much as the Stars hurt themselves, and hence they were the first villain of the week, I thought he did a pretty good job of aiding in that offensive disaster class we've seen in the past couple days. So,
I think I might have argued that with Karel Vejmelka. I thought he was really good against the Stars in Utah last Thursday. I thought the Stars, to your point, they were awful against the Ducks, but Dostal
I think
was good.
For For me, sometimes the tiebreaker on this goes to when they lose multiple games in a week, it's good to spread it out, the love from multiple losses.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the other thought there. So that was a bit of the tiebreaker there. But
your villain could have been anyone they play, essentially,
yes.
this time.
Yes.
All right, Sam,
Sure.
go for it.
Let's hit it up, Ryan. I had to change mine today. So my third star is the road trip finally coming to an end, because although they didn't win on Sunday, it was brutal. It was ugly. And hopefully they're getting back here for a few games and then sticking around here for a decent amount will help them out. The road trip was very, very poor. My third star was someone that used to play for the Vancouver Canucks, now plays for the San Jose Sharks. So my other two are the two guys that I believe this team needs to go get, and that is Blake Coleman from Calgary. Luds knows a lot about him, could bring a lot to this team. We'll talk more about trade guys later, but Justin Falk, after Rasmus Andersson went down, I believe is the next up on the list for the Stars in order to fix their blue line, which is a problem for them right now at the moment.
All right, my 3 stars, we're going to end with Luds like we always do. He's the closer. It's the 3 guys that had a not bad week. And I kid you not, Jake Ottinger actually had really good numbers. He played well for the most part. I know the first goal against Tampa yesterday wasn't ideal, but he's also the only backstop that led the Stars to a win. And he was certainly not the reason why they lost to the Utah Mammoth. They haven't been able to score more than 1 goal in their last 3 games. We're going to talk about that. And Casey DeSmith, if it wasn't for Casey DeSmith, they could have been embarrassed even more by the Ducks. So I went with the goalies as my first 2. And then guess what? Oscar Beck scored a goal. He hasn't scored very many, 4 now on the year. So he gets my 3rd star for the week. And guess what? On a week where a lot of guys picked up a lot of minuses, he was only -1.
Nice. Yeah, that line looked good together yesterday, too.
All right, Luds. I know that you said we're not doing a hidden reveal like we normally do. So I saved you for the end like we always do, but without the precursor of, can you guess my picks?
Yeah, I didn't think they were worthy putting in the work. Frankly, I didn't really care about it, to tell you the total truth. Wyatt, you know what? I mean, I look at Wyatt, and he's getting a little bit closer to being around the front of the net and scoring maybe a couple more 5-on-5 goals. He does what he does on the power play, and it's that line, and I give these guys props. And this all sums up. Well, at least the 2nd and 3rd star kind of sums up exactly the way things are going. I mean, you're picking your, I don't know, you want to call it 3rd or 4th line, whatever it is. And you're picking a beer bottle. You know what I mean? Like after all the games that we watched, we need more of this, of the 3rd star is what I'm saying. But the real reason, well, and you could probably read underneath the label if you'd like to. The real reason
I like the logo, Luds.
Well, that's all over there. And this is all in honor of our producer for having to put up with me, and having to do 7 or 8 breakdowns because of the way they down the street are playing, that I get pissed off enough to say, why don't you know how to do this? And why don't you a little more of this? And so Ryan sits there and has to deal with me. And where I still remember the point when GM Ben said, Dad, do 3. Well, let's get about 3 per show. But when there's 3 things that go wrong in the first 5 minutes, it's hard to stop. Like, I don't know where the stopping point is. So, and they end up becoming longer and longer because as you look at them and you try to break them down without being able to show video, which makes it worse. And so I'm trying to paint some kind of a picture for the people that actually care, and it goes on forever. And then he's sitting over there, and I see smoke coming off the back of his collar sometimes. And so anyway, thanks, Ryan.
I think that is a great way to segue. So those are our 3 stars of the week, and we now turn to the main topic, which will lead into several different parts on the show today, which is the Stars are no longer just in a little blip. They're not in a downturn. They're not dealing with some sort of minor setback. This is a full-on, deep in the ditch slump. They have not been really good consistently since before Christmas. Now, I was walking into practice today with Mike Heika, our buddy who used to write for the Morning News, now, of course, writes for the Stars website, and he had submitted that he thought the Washington Capitals game was a good performance. Hard to argue. They held the Caps to very little. They scored 4 times. They won the game. Sure. But then they immediately turned around and were awful against San Jose. And okay, they ground one into a win against LA, but they have not been able to put a couple of those together since actually before they saw Sean. So maybe Sean is the reason we blame, because they had a great game in Detroit, but they've been really lousy ever since. So the topic of what happened, what's going wrong, and how do they get out of it? Because not only are they not winning right now, all of a sudden in the last 3 games, they haven't scored more than a single goal in each of those 3. And like I said with my 3 stars with Jake Ottinger, doesn't matter how good you are. If he was, I thought, really good against Utah, but if you do that and your team only scores 1, that's going to be really hard to win games.
It's an interesting line of demarcation. If we're going to find ways to blame me, I'm cool with that. But also, if we're not, also basically everything turned south as soon as the Olympic rosters got announced too. That's interesting timing. I was just thinking about right now as you were saying that. So, obviously not a ton to read into that, I guess, but maybe there is. And it's been I'll use the word complacency watching a lot of these games with this team. I think they built up a lot of those points, and obviously you can't make the playoffs in the first 30, 40 games of the season, but you can do a really good job of building that base, and they did. And I watched this team play over the last 25 days or whatever it is now, and it's been very much they're going through the motions, and they don't seem to they've yet to find a reason to wake up and play a game that they played before that. Some things have obviously, some underlying issues from before have come into play with when it comes to puck possession and stuff like that. But those are schematic things that, to me, this all comes back to this team has just been complacent. This team is just, they heard all the praise, they saw everything, and you watch them play now, and I don't know. It's probably going to do them some good to look at the standings today and see that they've been caught by many, many teams that we thought had no chance of catching them 25 days ago. Like, I think it might be the best possible thing, because maybe the GM will also feel a little bit of the heat too after watching other GMs after being very, hey, we're going to be patient, and you know what? Other people have made your patient have jumped in and made their moves before you. So hopefully they're feeling the heat on this, but it's been complacency, and that's been my big word.
Luds, what do you see? We've been talking a lot about game to game of this issue or this issue, but as we now look at a larger sample size, I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. To Sean's point, they're now 5th, tied for 5th in the league in points. They've been 2nd for a really long time, behind only Colorado. Tampa, Carolina, Detroit all have 64 points. Now, Detroit's played 1 more game than Dallas has, but they're tied with Minnesota, both in games played and points. They have identical point percentages, and only 2 points ahead of Montreal in 7th. Vegas in 8th with 60. The pack is coming. What's going on?
Well, I mean, a word that comes up to me, their lack of urgency. I mean, to start hockey games. Like Sean said, back in the day, the coaches would come in and they would use the phrase, you're reading the headlines and you believe them. And because in the room, when coaches know in the room that we're winning games that we probably shouldn't win, and what they've relied on in the beginning of the season, we know what they relied on, their skill and their power play. And it ends up like, I keep talking about it over and over again, and they just don't want to get, they don't want to get up and put the work boots on, and they don't want to play like their 3rd and 4th lines. And I think there was a time in the beginning when goals were going in. It to me, sometimes it looked like the 3rd and 4th line guys wanted to play like the top line guys and get involved in scoring and dangling the extra passes and things like that. And now they're at the point where they really think that, I think in the beginning they were able to catch up in games, and they were able to use their power play and score big goals, and teams were taking penalties against them, and now they've stopped doing that a little bit because they know how dangerous it is. And I just think that these guys, they want to pass the puck into the net. They don't want to put the work boots on. They don't want to go into the hard area. They don't want to make it difficult on their opponents. And I don't find that opponents are coming in here and pushing them out of that game. They're pushing themselves out. Or they don't push themselves in. And now on the power play, again, we can go back and I know last night. What did they get last night? We talked about 16, 15, 5-on-5 shots. Was it because they had one shorty or something? 16, I think it was.
Yeah, 16 of their 20.
Now they're down to 20 shots a game. And because they actually think now, they believe now, and they can, but when things go sideways, you have to make adjustments to your game. And they don't want to be direct yet. They don't want to drive it down their throat, and they want to stay on the outside. The power play to me last night, and the only reason I pissed Ryan off again to put the power play thing was because it to me it tells a story about how they play 5-on-5 is the way that they're unwilling to change on the power play. They think that they can make that through the seam, and there were instances where I'm like, we got to start being more direct, and you got to start, the word I start looking for in front of the net, there's got to be more chaos. There has to be chaos in front of the opponent. And here's just an example we were talking about. This is Wyatt, and this is early in this particular power play. And Wyatt gets the puck here, and his mindset is not to look for another pass. Wyatt wants to bring it to the front of the net. And he does. And I saw it one time, I think it was in this power play, that Ryan, see how he brings this to net? Now look at all of their penalty killers. Now all of a sudden they have to adjust and react to this and look at the back door. So yes, we're waiting for this, but I would prefer the easy tap in when you're going through things like this. Go right to the front of the net. Go to the goaltender. Then what happened in the rest of this power play is everything started to be perimeter. Right here, look at this. This is Rantanen. Look at the space that he has. I'm not saying that this goaltender isn't going to make the save. But if Rantanen turns and fires this puck at him and takes another whack and another whack, then they're going to be a dirty goal. Now, all of a sudden, your backside guy can start creeping to the net. But what we're doing, we stop our feet because we know that there's going to be another pass. We don't think that there's going to be that jam play where, they got to get back and do things. Guys have to, this is my directness. You got to be more direct. Like, look at the time you have right here. And everybody that's killing a penalty, they're saying thank you because we want to come back. Now what happens is you've taken all that time. Guys get to recover. Now he tries to make this pass. That was working in the first 30 games and get it out to the point. Well, it doesn't work now. Then now they just turn it over. They go back down the ice. And the same thing with their entries. I mean, we've talked about it enough all year. We talked about it last year too. And I don't think those are a major problem. But how many times have we looked at it? Like they get in one out of 3 or 4 times now. They're okay continuing to do that instead of just saying, you know what, we're just going to start – can't you say that? We're going to start ramming it down your throat, and have that mentality right now. And I said this the other night, like, I was watching our young kids play today in St. Louis, and I'm like, shoot the damn puck, like create breakdowns in front. And if these guys want to do that, I think teams that they play against, all of a sudden tomorrow, who's they playing? Boston around, all of a sudden the puck starts going to the net. They're going to be, wait a second, I thought they were this team and that team and this team. Yeah. And you may catch the teams off guard. And then what happens is now when you start to create that confusion and chaos in front of the net, now I think you will find little openings because now they start to collapse and then things will be open other places.
All right, we're going to hit the ad break. When we come back, Sean and Sam will continue this point as we try to figure out how do you get the Stars out of the ditch here on the DLS Stars podcast. Wild Fork Foods is the place to go for all of your grocery needs, especially meats, seafoods, but it's not just that. Now, I'll talk about it in a minute, but they also have side dishes. They have breads. They have mac and cheese. They have the best desserts. I'm a sweet tooth. Of course, their main attraction is they are a wonderful meat and seafood market. They blast freeze everything, which some people might say, well, why not fresh? Because actually it's fresher this way. It doesn't degrade because of their freezing process. Actually, all their meat is well maintained. So when you're ready to thaw and cook it, by the way, did I tell you that they have experts that can show you exactly how to do all of that stuff? But it doesn't get that freezer burn that you might get if you buy something fresh, then throw it in the freezer right before the expiration date. We're talking about high quality, everything, and at great prices. So check them out where frozen is fresher at Wild Fork Foods Meat and Seafood Market at one of their 9 area DFW locations, or log on to their website, wildforkfoods.com.
With over 700 5-star reviews and an average rating of 4.9, Qualis Roofing is one of the most trusted names in roofing across North Texas and Austin. Homeowners and business owners alike consistently praise Qualis for their honesty, follow-through, and quality workmanship. Whether it's your home or business, Qualis Roofing has you covered literally. Based right here in North Texas, Qualis isn't some storm-chasing fly-by-night crew. They're local, experienced, and committed to doing things the right way. No pressure, no gimmicks, just honest assessments and quality work. Schedule a free roof inspection and get a free DLLS shirt. Replace your roof with Qualis and choose between a free Blackstone or a Traeger smoker, because getting a new roof should come with a little extra sizzle. If your home was hit by recent storms, don't wait. Qualis, they give you free storm damage assessments and can help you guide through that insurance process. Call or go online to schedule your free roof inspection, and don't forget to ask about your free grill. Visit QualisGC.com or just search Qualis Roofing and Construction. That's QUALIS, or call 817-500-9008.
All right, we're back for this discussion as we continue here. Sean, you said you had a point to follow up to what Luds was talking about why this team is sort of cratered over the last month.
Yeah, and this is, I'll won't say exactly who, but I spoke to someone who is another NHL team scout earlier today about this and a couple other things. And one of the things that this scout brought up to me was an interesting thing to think about. And we were talking about this stretch of the past 25 days and everything like that. And he said, look at the past couple games. He said, it looks like basically other teams have, and he said this was the worst possible thing for the Stars, is other teams have started to think this isn't just a skid. And now this is an emotional thing, and this isn't just a technical schematic thing or whatever. But he said, if you look at, in their words, you look at the way Dallas played earlier in the season, people showed up afraid to play the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something the Stars were able to take advantage of. And that's why their skill would kind of come into play and everything like that. And he said over this stretch, and he said, obviously this is more of the Stars' fault in the immediacy of after right around Christmas and everything, because they put themselves in this position. But past 4 or 5 games from him watching the Stars play, said, you know what? Other teams aren't afraid of them anymore. Other teams have just kind of taken them out of that top tier in the way you watch teams come to the ice. And it's been other teams have brought it. And that is a element of that falls completely. And this is, if someone's going to comment, say, oh, Sean's making excuses, the other team tries to win too. That's not what I'm saying on this. This is the whole level of, this is just giving a more direct assessment of how far and how bad things are for Dallas. When other teams are jumping in and they are no longer afraid of you, and you've lost a lot of, you go and lose a lot of that respect and fear that was part of when you came into the rink before, that's a hard thing to earn back. And my point here is this is not just a simple fix. There's a lot going on here. So, Owen, get me back on track, please. So.
Thank you, Sean. But Sam,
what they've lost is their swagger.
Yeah.
Dallas doesn't have a swagger anymore.
Yeah.
And that's
right, at least
deal.
not right now. Not right now.
Whether it's
Ardell's not a Red Wing scout. Ardell, not a Red Wing. Ardell is saying, AKA a Red Wing scout. Ardell, if I speak to a Red Wing scout, certain people from the Red Wings will track down those who speak, and it will have them end up Jimmy Hoffa style somewhere else. So
definitely not a Red Wing scout. Okay.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about all this?
Yeah, the one thing I keep thinking about, we've hit on all the points of it actually on the ice stuff, but the one thing I always think about is the word adjustments. And last year and the year before under Pete DeBoer, we got to the point twice in the playoffs where they just weren't making enough adjustments, right? Players, coaches, obviously the organization believed that there were not enough changes made. When a team figured out Dallas, they figured out Dallas. And Edmonton did it 2 times in a row, even worse so last year when they pretty much dominated the whole series against the Stars. I expected and we had heard there would be more adjustments this year. And Goldson, I love talking to Glenn Goldson because he's so open. Today, if go watch the media from today if you haven't already. It's just an honest conversation about things, where things stand, and it's great to hear that. But I have been disappointed with the on-ice adjustments, if that makes sense.
What do you, Sam, when you say that, are you talking systemic or are you talking personnel?
But both a little bit. Okay. Glad to see. We'll talk about practice lines a little bit. There's some line stuff I would do. I don't think this team has the depth to do a whole lot that's going to make us go, this is so much better personnel. Right. But I don't mean like huge system changes. I just mean something as simple as the entry on a power play that you talked about. They do it and do it and do it and do it and do it. And we're up there sitting in the press box going, we have to. Are we seeing this wrong? Is this our fault for watching it over and over?
I'm not trying to slam the desk and say, hey, don't blame the coaches. But I've seen enough systems, enough coaching staffs in Dallas over 12 years plus that a lot of that falls on the players.
Oh, for sure. And
right?
and maybe it's execution.
Because
maybe that's the answer.
Because, and Luds has talked about this at length, when your power play is as hot as they were, they know what works.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to tell them change it up doesn't always work.
Well, but when you go back to what Sam is talking about when he mentions entries, they're not drawing up a different entry and then the players are doing the old entry. Because they never do any entry but that one entry.
Yeah.
So
but
I don't think the coaches are saying, listen, we're not going to use this entry anymore. We're going to use this. And then the players just go, no, we're not. No, we're not, guys. We're doing this one. I don't believe that.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, they're not doing that. There's no way. There's no players that I know of they're going to go, we're going totally, unless they want the guy to be fired. And we're totally going against everything.
I mean, I've seen it in not so far long ago. I've seen certain players that aren't necessarily the most coachable because they thought they knew.
Well, Mike Ribeiro was here and wanted to be on his own page all the time. I mean, just Ribs was going to do what he wanted to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's one player. But you can take one player and move them,
sometimes,
or put them on an island, whatever. But these guys are using that same. And I'm just using one example. I don't believe that. Now, from a system standpoint, I don't see any changes. I'm sure they tweak things from team to team.
Yep.
Like this team does that, so we're going to change a little bit of this.
Right.
And I don't think in all honesty, this team isn't falling off the planet from who they were in the beginning of the year. They're still there. They just need to add some grit to their game. Where are we in hits? Remember in the first month, they were in the top 3 or 4 in hits. Are they in the top? Are they in the bottom 5 right now?
They are definitely near the bottom.
Okay,
sure.
So there's one of the things that Glenn Gullickson came in July or whenever it was and said the whole 1%. Right? And
do you want total or do you want per 60?
I don't care.
Okay.
Just give me what's the average game hits?
Right now the Stars are averaging 18.2 hits per game.
Okay.
They have 905. They're 22nd in the league in total hits. As far as hits per 60, they're 25th.
Okay. So they've gone from top 5 at one point,
Yep.
I believe, is where they were when they were rolling and they were winning games
bottom
and things
third.
like that.
They had a certain player named
They
Lian
drifted
Bichsel.
away from what that message was in the beginning.
Yep.
And that's not just 1 or 2 guys. It's a team thing. It's a team stat.
And that's what when I say adjustments, I think the in game is the main thing I see.
Sean has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Sean.
Just to add to
I think it's
Owen's
always
point.
up.
So some teams play higher hit games than others. So at 5-on-5, because obviously this team is one of the biggest issues, is the 5-on-5 play because they've had special teams rescue them before. According to Money Puck, the Stars rank 32nd out of 32nd in the league for percentage of hits given. So of all of the hits in a given game that a Stars playing, on average, 43% are thrown by the Stars. That is the worst in the league, of any team.
That's interesting.
To give you an idea, like the Rangers are first in the league at 56.81%. But good teams, to give you an idea, like you go through and I'm looking at the numbers as we're talking about this, like Colorado is not that much higher, but they're still a little bit higher, 46% higher. Carolina is actually even lower at 44%. Like, so to give you an idea on all of this, it's from a Stars perspective, it's not that they need to just start out hitting everybody. They're so passive within their game, right? Like you don't have to, the hits are the easy one to bring out because Carolina doesn't hit everybody, but they bring the physicality and the grit and the nastiness in ways that aren't official hits. And so it's kind of that whole kind of that problem of we can go and say, hey, you need to hit more, you need to do this, and they do. But it's also it's the above the board stuff as well that and I mean above the board, it's the forecheck time, and these are the stats that I'd love to be able to the NHL teams have that we'll never get because they're hidden. But I'd love to see the time spent actually pressuring the puck. I'd love to see how their arrival times are, the things that I know NHL teams get internally that we don't get publicly, because I would bet that they are really low in that as well. There's a lot here, guys. There's a lot that needs to be worked on.
Sean, you know what, when you're talking about all that, like comes to mind when you said that, they're a perimeter team, and their best players, the guys that play the most minutes, are leading that charge. And you know how Matt Duchene plays and he pulls up on the wall. Mikko Rantanen pulls up on the wall. Wyatt, for the most part, drives the net. And my point is they have to start playing with a little bit more of that push inside the dots, all the way from your end to the other end, basically down the middle of the ice. We need to see a little bit more from them wanting to get to those areas and get some respect back, because like I said, the message is out from other opponents. I would say the same thing in the beginning of the year. This is what they do. They pass the puck through everybody, and eventually you're like, well, the puck moves faster than we do, so we need to be in them spots that they're trying to pass the puck through. And that's what they've done. And now they play them hard all over the ice, and now they haven't necessarily pushed back through those middle spots where they're having problems.
Look at your breakdown from the last segment where Tampa collapsed around the triangle.
Isn't that what Edmonton did in the playoffs last year?
Because they knew that Mikko's trying to make that pass. So, oh no, he's fine over there. Yep. We talked about it with 2-on-1 defending, trusting your goalie to make the save because he's not the threat. It's the Draisaitl back post or whoever you talk about. And then panicking and throwing yourself and doing the slide. I sent you guys a great tweet from Jason Demers, a former Stars defenseman who does NHL stuff now for broadcasting. And he said the league has a massive case of sliditis when it comes to defending a 2-on-1. And how do you change it? We just talked about this last year. We were angling for Harley to get more quarterback PP1 time. And it was because he shoots. When you shoot, it opens up those passing lanes. Well, the passing lanes have been great until they started covering them. Now they're
covering them with 4 guys.
Right.
Yeah, they're taking everything through the middle of the way. And again, just imagine if you started the game in your first power play out there, and you've got Wyatt, who's a righty, so he's off to the right-hand side of the goaltender. Rantanen's a lefty. He's off to the left side. Every time that those 2 guys, at least the first 2 times, they come out and they wrap it, and then they wrap it, and on net, and there's a collapse. Well, then now they're going on the bench. Coaches are going, okay, wrapping. We got to tighten it up a little bit. Now all of a sudden they do that. You kick it out to somebody in the high slot, and then you get a quality scoring chance. Right now, it's not there.
Well, we have practice updates. We have trade market updates. Lots still to get to, so don't go anywhere here on the DLLS Stars podcast.
Guys, money can be messy, really messy, and there's not a whole lot of help out there unless you find the right tool. There's plenty of other things you can try to figure out that just don't get down to the nitty-gritty and help you reach your financial goals. But Monarch does exactly that. Monarch makes it super simple. They lay out everything in one clear picture, because without that clear financial picture, your financial goals can feel out of reach. With Monarch, for me personally, it just allowed me to put everything in one place, right? You get your investments, you get your savings, you know, if you have debt you want to follow, if you want to look at loans, things like that, they're all there and you can track it. And it's very, very easy to read. They got graphs, they got charts, everything, so that if you don't know what you're talking about, you can figure it out. And if you do, you can reach that next level with all of your financial goals. Monarch is not just another financial app. It's a tool that real professionals and experts actually love, and is the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code DLS at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code DLS. All right. I don't like to talk about this as much, but now I do, because I used Game Time once. I got tickets to Miami at SMU here in Dallas, and I was all excited. I've never seen Miami play a game live in person, a meaningful game specifically. And I was excited to go. They were rolling. They had only 1 loss. I thought they were going to be on their way to a conference championship and all sorts of great things. They ended up losing the game to SMU, watching SMU storm the field. That was tough. But guess what? Game Time made it super easy for me to get the tickets, and I got $20 off because I used code DLS. Upfront pricing, easy to see the view from your seat. Anything you could possibly want with Game Time, because Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DLS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
All right,
God,
it's practice update time. So I'm going to vamp for a half a second because Sam is trying to send a couple graphics to Ryan as he and Luds were scheming during the break. But let's...
It's been done.
Did it go through?
Yeah.
Send it to Ryan. It's okay.
Son of a...
Okay, so unfortunately, this segment revolves around Sam, so we're going to need your attention here.
I'm ready.
practice update.
He can multitask.
Yeah, watch me multitask. Watch me whip and then watch me nay right afterwards. Practice update. We have. You want to start with the lines?
I would start with Brzkovian.
Okay. So top line. I know a lot of fans have been upset about the Sam Steele top line, and some writer from this company called Dlls was talking about Ritzkovian maybe being an option up there. Well, today Justin Ritzkovian was on the left side of the top line with Wyatt Johnston. Funny enough, it was with Wyatt Johnston and Nate Bastian because Mikko Rantanen took a maintenance day. But that is something Golitzin said he was looking at, and nothing decided for sure. But I would imagine that's probably what we're going to see to start the game tomorrow. So Ritzkovian was up there with Johnston and what will be Rantanen, who will play tomorrow. And then we had Duchesne moved down back to center on the third line. So we had that second line with Bork still there with Robo and Rope Hintz. And then Steele with Duchesne and Ben, and then the same fourth line with Blackwell. So the interesting one is we got Duchesne back to center. Problem is Sam Steele, Jamie Benn is not necessarily the high skill, high flying line that's going to help him get his offense going.
Yeah, now you go.
Yeah.
No, what I would say about Matt is that I think Matt has been politically correct when he's trying to talk to media and things like that. And he mentions, playing with Wyatt and Mikko would make a good line, or whoever, Robo, I can play in the middle, and so I just wonder when that came about yesterday at practice or whatever, and he sees that he's with those two guys and not with the top 4 or 5 guys, how he is mentally. But you have to admit, I mean, Matt's game is not what we saw last year. Whatever it is, there's pucks that are getting away from him. He's not in sync right now with himself, and I think there's times he's fighting with the puck. And but I think there is a big key is to be where you need to be up here. Mentally, you have to be in the right state. And I think he's always been a good soldier. Like it's not like he's going to pout because he's not playing with them top guys, but he would much rather prefer and feel that his game can be on display. And more importantly, he believes he can help the team. And, they're talking about him, getting another couple goals, what did he have last year? Did Matt had in the 20s last year?
Yeah, I think he did.
So, and he wants to be back to that. He's a proud guy, and he's been that kind of player. So he would ideally like to get back into playing with those guys. But the way the team is structured right now,
Matt had
those guys
30 goals in
he
82
had
plays.
30.
He literally had a point a game production player last year, 30, 52, 82.
Yeah. And, and again, who knows what the effect of his injury was in the beginning of the season. That still may be bothering him a little bit. But I think
it's not now because I actually asked him in practice.
Well,
this morning.
it's still from the neck up.
That's different.
It's
not.
Thing.
It's not the concussion part anymore. I asked him today. I said, "Hey, I saw something. I think Robert talked to him in L.A. And I said, "How are you feeling?" And he said, "Oh, he goes, I've been feeling pretty good for a while now." He goes, "No, I'm healthy." So that part's, but the.
And he wants to say that because he wants coaches to hear him say that and say, "Listen, I'm
Sure,
good.
sure.
Put me up with those guys."
Well,
But there's no doubt they have not found the right fit. This coaching staff with how to use him properly with the personnel.
Well, and it's hard,
that they
right?
currently have.
Who is it? That's the thing.
I honestly don't know the answer.
Right.
If you're either going to sacrifice something, if he's going to be your second line center, you're putting Rope Hintz on one of your wings. Does that help? Or you're putting Wyatt Johnston on a wing. Does that help? Like, I don't know the actual answer because unfortunately, we've talked about it over and over. They have 4 great centers.
Yep.
They would love to run it 4 lines. They just don't have the help to put enough on each side of them to run it like that.
Ryan, do you have those ready? So here's just an example that Sam was able to pull up when I'm talking about a little more direct play. This is Carolina. And again, we all know the MO of Carolina, but that heat map or the red, I just want you to look at the front of the net. That's where they live. That's where the Carolina Hurricanes live, and we all know that. So if you compare it to Dallas, what they've done up to this point,
Eesh.
This is where they're living. Like,
look at plus 16 they were in expected goals for per 16.
Good is lots of red.
Lots of red.
But
lots of red and layers of red.
There's not any red.
None. And this is the whole season. So this isn't even. I didn't even pick.
This is the good times.
This is good and bad.
Yep.
So this has been a consistent.
And again,
issue all year.
they were having success from out there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, and again, if there was a way to flip it, and be able to see what teams have played in when they first played them, you would have seen that there were probably more bodies on the outside of those 2 lakes on the left and the right. But now you're seeing that there's more interior and saying, we get outside, now we're putting it on our goaltender because they are a strategically excellent passing team, tape to tape, saucers. They can do some crazy gifted things, but they can't do it when we have bodies to go through. So,
do you guys think that Wyatt Johnston is 1C right now?
No.
Like, Rope Hintz has been their number one center, but right now, however you want to line it up, he's one of the top 2 centers. Does Wyatt, with his game, should he be one of your top 2 centers?
I think Wyatt is the better option if you have to move someone to wing, if that makes sense. I don't think he's better on the wing, but
I agree.
Of the 3, I think he fits and can play on left.
And he could
right.
play on a wing with Matt Duchene.
Why do you think that they're not doing that? Because Wyatt's not been they've not put him in a wing position for a while.
Now, here's the one thing about Wyatt. Wyatt is not a physical presence out there. I don't know how they may be concerned with battles on the wall, but Wyatt can win battles when he goes.
Answer?
No, he's not the answer. He's not the answer. That's why and again, it's lack of size, but Wyatt does a fine job on the wall when he does get there. And he does it, to me, he does it with quickness. He spins and he uses his quickness and his feet. But to win a battle, Wyatt probably is smart enough to go, well, I'm not going to that battle with that guy because I'm probably not going to win it. So I just got to be positionally correct. So that's why I keep getting on the whole thing, the Jenners and the Andersons, little size on the walls. So,
Sam, the other big news of the day was about Lian Bichsel. We had a sighting.
Yes, Lian Bichsel was out there. I got there early today, and he was out there first with skills coach and a couple other people just working through some stuff. So he was out there doing some drills, and I thought it was just going to be one of those days you see him out there early. You can see the video on the screen here out with Stan. He actually stayed for practice. So this was a great sign. I was
for part of it.
Part of it, yes. He left about 10, 15 minutes into the actual practice session.
Long,
but it was good to see that it wasn't just out there on his own 30 minutes before. He was doing a lot of this movement stuff. As we know, it was a foot injury for him, very similar to Nils Lundqvist. As you mentioned, we have confirmed. I know we kind of knew it already, but Goldson said himself it was a bone injury, so most likely
broken bone
in the foot near where Nils did it. So he's on pace right now. There's no commitment to specifically when, but they originally thought definitely after the break, and now it's trending more and more to the fact that he could play before the break because, as we saw with Nils, it went from he couldn't put a skate on to he played just like that.
The details that Gully gave us today were that he's, what is this, the 8th skate, I think he said?
Yep.
And that he's trying to get to the point of being able to skate without any pain, and that there's a little bit of pain still, so he's not quite there yet. But once that goes away, it's all about just conditioning and he can go. And so I followed up with Jim Nils said on the pregame show on the radio the other day, we heard him say that they'd like to get him a few games before the Olympic break to see how he's doing and sort of gauge the recovery. And does that track? He goes, yes, that tracks. He goes, I don't know a specific day yet. We're not there. But with, 8 games left, I think now before the break, we may very well see Lian Bichsel sooner than later. Sean, is that a good thing?
I think it's an important thing. I mean, this is a team we've talked about all of the things that have come together of this team. I mean, I don't know how much you need it in every single game, but this is a team on the back end. We talked about complacency and we talked about all of that. And Lian Bichsel is a player who, even when he has his flaws, is not complacent. He's physical. He hits more than anyone else. He does all of that. And I think that's definitely hurting the team. And then I would be curious to throw it to Luds, because Luds, you've played on some teams where there's been guys who have played the role on the defensive core who are the bouncer or the enforcer or whatever, right? And so I'd be curious, because you've played on teams. What things have you seen with the defensive guys when they lose that guy who brings that club to the bag, for lack of a better word, that they don't? I'm curious, because you've played on some teams where there's been guys who we always hear about how underrated those guys are because of what they allow other guys to do. So I'd be curious to hear Lud's thoughts on what Lian's absence and what he brings to the defensive group that the other guys might have impacted some others.
Sean, they're thinking about other things and coming in and dangling and putting it through people's skates and through their legs and trying to beat them wide and all this other kind of stuff. And so there's distractions when you're playing against someone that wants to break your ankle, or dislocate your shoulder. And so, because again, they're focused on one thing and they don't want that other thing. They would much rather play against John Klingberg. I'll just use him because
Poor
you guys
Klinger catching strays.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but from the standpoint, they want to play against Nils Lundqvist versus Lian Bichsel. And that feeling should be the same way with Petrovic and Lyubushkin. And I'm not saying it's going to be Miro. It's never going to be Miro, and it's never going to. And Essa is not a guy that punishes you. He just is a guy that's difficult to get around. And I wish sometimes I wish Essa was a little bit more dirty and try to get somebody in the right area of the body and the hand and things like that. And again, that reputation gets out there. Lian Bichsel has a reputation that. Is he going to fight? We don't know that yet. But is he going to come and at the end of the night, is he going to have 8 to 10 hits?
Yes.
Yep. And just by sheer girth, 2 or 3 of them are going to hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think I've ever really seen him. And I think there is a part of it because he came here to start with and talked about not picking penalties. I'm turning him loose. I'm like, Lian, you will learn how to not take penalties. But to pull him back to me is a mistake. And he'll learn how to hit guys, keep his hands down because, again, he's taller than everybody else. Naturally, you're going to get – just because you're bigger than somebody, you're going to get penalized.
Yep.
That's the way it works in today's game. But you have to put the fear of God into some of these guys, especially the best players on the other team.
I think that's a great way to get to our next segment because we need to talk about a defenseman we all thought would be a nice fit who no longer is. Let's update the trade market and the agent market here on the DLS Stars podcast.
Screen wipe.
But
Is this Sean?
this is an ad read? This
Yes.
an ad
This
read?
is you, Sean.
Okay.
We
but
do
first
these at
let's-
15, 30, and 45.
I know, but it was kind of a pause.
For a
there.
year
So
and a half and
let's
counting.
Let's talk about Dana Diehard. And as Owen said, a year and a half and counting. And in that year and a half, while I have struggled to figure out ad reads, this community has not struggled to grow and be able to become a really cool place to watch and talk and do everything in Dallas sports. Not just the Stars, which you're watching the show, but Mavericks, Cowboys, Rangers, every single thing you get access to a great community by coming to Diehard. By clicking this QR code right below my face, not only do you get access to some incredible writing that Sam's done recently, but our other sports as well, you also get access to the Diehard only Discord. And in that Discord, there's some great conversation, and there's a lot of really cool things that go beyond just the sports conversation. I think it's a really cool thing and a really community. So become a Diehard, you get to join a really cool community. And on top of that, if you join the community, you also get a free shirt. And as you can see, our people are always rolling out new products and shirts and everything like that. These 3 gentlemen are modeling these Finnish Mafia shirts right now. And it's you don't get a free sweatshirt when you become a Diehard, but you do get early access to that stuff and get a discount, I believe, right? Is that correct? Am I getting that right, Owen, here?
Accurate.
Yes. So become a Diehard. It's good for your soul.
Well done. And as Sean mentioned, I'm going to say 2 things. I'm going to say one thing about our diehards because the reason we're all wearing this sweatshirt is because of our diehard TO who bought these for us. Also hands out supporters clubs badges like it's nothing. I got some badges in there for you, Harry. But we have awesome stuff on our site. The Finnish Mafia sweatshirt is the one top of the mind and will be running out soon. Make sure you get it. We also have the new hats, which we love. Luds loves to pop his on along with his self-made Ben visor that he was wearing on the show.
That was a great
all
visor.
kinds of great stuff. Alldls.com. Go get it right now.
All right, guys, we don't have nearly enough time to cover everything in this segment that we will. We could have done 2 or 3 on this alone, especially with Sean and Luds in the same pod. But we'll deal with what we can based on the time we have left. And that is 2 of the players that we mentioned on last week's Trade Target show are now no longer on the market. And the big one is Rasmus Andersson, who was acquired by the Vegas Golden Knights, the dark side themselves, yesterday for...
Yeah, Andersson, 50% retained by Calgary to Vegas for defenseman Zach Whitecloud, 2027 first-round pick, 2027 second, which becomes a first if Vegas wins the Cup, and the rights to Abram Wiebe, I don't know how to say the name, defenseman that's playing currently at University of North Dakota.
Oh, he must be good then.
And then
Well, a lot.
today, Kiefer Sherwood, who is not in the same class as Andersson, but was very much available and had a great start to the year, although he hasn't been nearly as proficient in goal scoring lately, 1 goal in his last 10 games. He was traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the San Jose Sharks.
Yes, for 2 second-round picks and defenseman Cole Clayton.
Okay, so lot to get to here. And we also have news of the Jason and Nick Robertson brother duo changing agents, going from Pat Brisson at CAA to now Andy Scott at Octagon. And we'll get into that before we close this one out. Oh, go ahead,
Speaking
Sean.
of, actually, this all connects real quick. Speaking of Pat Brisson, Brendan Brisson, who plays still with the Vegas Golden Knights, in the 9 years of the Vegas Golden Knights draft picks, their 9 first-round picks they've had in that time, 8 of them have been traded either before they were used or traded or after they've been picked. Everyone hears all about the, hey, your picks and everything like that. The Golden Knights have had 9 first-round picks. They have moved on from 8 of them. The only one to not be moved happens to be the son of one of the largest agents. Coincidence or not, who knows? But that is...
it's Ray Ferraro's kid.
Nice shot. So let's start with Rasmus Andersson. Aside from the fact that we all liked the idea of him being in the Stars' top 4, we all knew, and Luds, you were really beating the drum this last week of, I don't see where you're going to get the assets to make that deal compared to some of the other teams out there. The reporting from Calgary, where Craig Conroy, the Flames GM, mentioned that the Bruins, it sounded like the Bruins and Flames had a deal in place, but Andersson couldn't, or Bruins and Andersson didn't come to an agreement on extension. The most recent one I saw was from Frank Saravalli that said that the Bruins offered him $9 million a year over 7 years, and that he turned it down because Boston was not the destination he wanted to be at. Either way, it's a very, very hefty price to pay for a guy that's a rental, although Vegas did this with Noah Hannafin 2 years ago, and they, within a little over a month, signed him to a big extension.
I think it was easier for Kelly because to pull the trigger on this because he committed to go there. And I think, and again, it's a word thing because it's not done. And the 3 teams he had basically that they would talk about him going to, he said, I'm not going to be here long term. But if you want me, that's fine. But I'm not going to. And so
Right.
why would you make that move, right?
Not for this amount of package going the other way.
What you're doing the other way. But for me, if I'm hearing that, and again, okay, we're not getting Andersson, and who's going back, or at least now you know. White Cloud's interesting for me. I mean, he's a 5'6", but I'm just wondering if I'm Jim, and because they all heard that they know what Andersson has said and all this other. I'd be calling Craig. I'd be calling him, say, listen, what would it take for you as soon as this deal is done that you just flip him to us, and we'll.
You're talking about White Cloud now.
Talking about White Cloud. Yep. I mean, yeah, we're missing out on Andersson. Fine. We get it, and he wants to commit there. He wasn't going to commit here, obviously, but he wants to play in Vegas. And I love what Sean brings up, all the first-rounders trading. I'm all over that.
Yeah.
That's a dude at the top of the mountain that says, we want to win. And he did. He said he was going to win a cup in, 4 years or something like that? He won a cup in 4 years.
Yeah.
But that's because they took guys and see ya.
Took the
risk.
Ruthless. They were ruthless.
And I don't know. I'm not 100% sold, to be totally honest, that Andersson is going to be the guy that's going to get him to the promised land again. I'm not 100% sold to that.
Pretty big piece there.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I would have been, okay, I don't win on this deal. But what do what's happening here?
So White Cloud, in your mind, doesn't solve the
It doesn't
Stars
solve the issue, but I think it adds.
But you
to
think
what-
it upgrades a 5-6 spot?
Absolutely. And again,
he's a right shot.
When you talk about playoffs,
Would you rather have Zach Whitecloud than Petrovic or Lyubushkin on that third pairing?
I think White Cloud would be above them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would be. That's where I would put him right now. And I'm not. Maybe they're even. He's even with one of them, but he's won a cup. He's only 29 years old. He's got a year. I think he's got a year or two left on his deal, and he makes $2 million or whatever the neighborhood is. I don't think it's anything astronomical, but I think you strengthen because again, you're not just going to go to the finals and use 6 defensemen.
No,
there's going to be injuries, and again, let's say White Cloud's in there. Now you've got whether it's Lian or you got Petro or Lyubushkin. They're adequate to come in, and I just think that. And that may have been done. I have no idea, but I'm saying that's okay. You don't just sit and go, "Oh, damn, we don't get that guy."
Yeah.
Well, what are you sending back? Can I ask? And maybe they tell you, maybe they don't. I don't know. Sean would know more about this kind of stuff.
So I think we're all in agreement that the Rasmus Andersson trade is disappointing because you wanted the player, but we all go, oh, well, for that, good luck to you.
That's
Fine.
been the case a lot lately.
Right?
The team just doesn't have what certain players are getting.
Or they don't want to give up Lian Bichsel and a first-round pick for a guy that may not guarantee extending over a long period of time. Or maybe you don't feel that you have the cap space because you're trying to get Jason Robertson re-signed and you can't give out a $9 million AAV to a defenseman and then go to Robertson and say, well, we're going to ask you to take less.
When you speak about Robertson, and one of you guys is way smarter than me, when players, brothers, change their agent, and one of them is a big dog right here down the street and changes his representatives, is that saying something about things aren't going well here or not necessarily?
This is one of those questions of there's still some more reporting to be done because there are lots of factors that go into this. For example, I have not been able to get an answer on this yet, but at one point, they left the CAA agency, right? And I want to say real quick on something. I'm not reporting anything. I'm not going out and it's just these are facts. Jason and Nick were both CAA clients. Something that's important to acknowledge is before Michael Robertson, Jason and Nick's older brother, used to work for CAA, or maybe still works for CAA. I don't know, but that is something that comes into play as well. There are other these always comes up of, oh my God, it's because of this trade, it's because of this or whatever. There's other potential factors at play here that I don't have the answer to, that I would like the answer to before I can give a full answer on that. So does Michael Robertson still works for CAA? If he does, that's a very interesting thing. Michael works in the agency business. Maybe he's at Octagon now, and maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know. So there's other factors here that come into play on this. Obviously, Jason has had his, I think people have called them battles with the Stars, and I think that's a little bit overblowing it, just because it's the whole, like, any player you would expect to go and try and get theirs. And so, and Nick's had bigger, quote unquote, battles with the Maple Leafs when it comes to, at one point, there was a thought of a potential trade request that didn't happen and everything like that. So, I look at this as a move of not knowing the full reasons. I do find it a fascinating side effect incoming here of Andy Scott. I remember back before the season started, Luds, I did the whole organizational power rankings, right? And said,
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You said, Sean, how the hell do you have this guy up here, this Andy Scott dude? How is he in the top 3 and everything like? Well, Luds, he now represents Jason Robertson after also representing Mikko Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, Thomas Harley. The man controls more cap dollars than anyone else in the Stars, and it's now going to continue to command more cap dollars than anyone else in the Stars. And from a Stars perspective, if you want to go with the optimistic view, the Stars came to pretty fair deals on both sides with Wyatt Johnston and Thomas Harley and Mikko Rantanen. And as Mark Janko has been on the show before and said, hey, you don't want to overly win every deal. There's a pretty good, healthy relationship working between Andy Scott and Jim Nill. So the optimistic view is, hey, this is great. Pessimistic view is, hey, he's changing agents. He's looking for a change of scenery, or you know what, Andy's going to go try to get his somewhere else. I prefer to look at it with a little bit more optimistic view since that seems more likely to me. It's kind of, I think this is both of them changing together definitely feels like a connection. I just would like to know what the connection is, and I've yet to get that out. Hopefully we have a better answer of that sometime soon.
Yeah, it just seems to me like when we heard that Robo wanted, I think, Rantanen money or somewhere in that neighborhood, and you're going, I don't know if you can pay Rantanen that when you switch your agents, it's because he's not making progress on that lane that he's trying to go down. But then you talk about the other dude that he's going with all of a sudden got pretty good deals for guys by taking less. So I'm going, well, wait a minute. Now this guy's known for giving these guys less money than they're asking for. Robertson's not happy not getting the more money that he went with. So how is this an upgrade? But again, nothing I know about.
Yep.
Yeah, and to that point too, there's also a level of there's human elements to this as well. Of everyone thinks about the agency as something that is just like you just deal with your agent when it comes to contract time, right? Basically, in the way the agencies run in today's NHL, it's basically an additional set of team things for you, right? So like Maverick Bork's a really good example where Maverick has told me before where his agency pays for his skills coach, his agency, like as he was coming up and everything, like paid for his skills coach, paid for his sports psychologist, did all these tools that Maverick's agency provided for him that he really took advantage of early in his career. And so everyone thinks about agency, oh, it's just the contract. There's also a quote unquote bedside manner or whatever, where it's how they treat you on the day-to-day and things like that. So there's a deeper, greater answer to all of this than just the contract. Contract is obviously going to be the most pressing thought, and it's going to lead to the end. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's fair to jump to the conclusion of this was done just because of the contract. I think there's a lot more that can be here, and I'm just being very honest right now. I don't have those answers, and I hope that at some point we do. But these are the questions. I have more questions on it than anything.
All right. Before we sign off, I just quickly want to make the point about Kiefer Sherwood, which is I'm not disappointed that he went to the San Jose Sharks. The return, fine, right?
Yeah,
a couple of seconds.
Not super pricey.
The reason why I was interested in him is because he had a hot start to the year, scored some goals, and his AAV was low. Those are all things I think would have helped the Stars. But as I mentioned before, he hadn't scored a lot lately. 1 goal in his last 10. Luds had said, I'm not sure I'm sold on him because he hasn't done it consistently.
He's a career 4 goals
right.
a year guy.
He's elevated his career numbers.
So
what's that?
I was just going to say with San Jose, like I think it's for a team where they can take the risk on that bad contract he's going to. Like it's going to be.
It's more honestly. It's more about he wouldn't be super expensive and probably a scoring upgrade to what the Stars need. Something. I'm more disappointed that they didn't get Andersson because of how good he is than I am about Sherwood. But they need to do something. And the last question I have, guys, because we are out of time, and a super chat is: do these moves speed up Jim Nill's plans? Because things are starting to fall dominoes here and there. Or is he going to hold fast till the post-Olympic break?
I saw the free agents that are the list of all of them.
Yep.
I don't know what you're going after that's going to help you.
Yep.
That gets you, and I don't know, to be honest with you. There's not a guy out there that tickles your fancy. Is that what it's called? For me.
Yep.
But
that's realistic.
Tickling my fancy?
I'm saying that that is realistic you can get. Because there are players out there. Shen, Jenner, Panarin. Yeah. I just don't know they can actually do it.
Yeah, realistically, we all said, Nazem Kadri would be fun, but I don't see how you fit his.
And I don't think Jim's the kind of guy to mortgage the farm. And are you one player away from winning a cup? I'm going to go right back to that.
All right, super chat from it's a Canadian Bichsel and 99 Cup here from 0G Gaming 205. Is there somehow a world where you could package Parayko and a combination of say Shen or Kyrou, possibly Thomas, if you're going all in?
You'd have to get rid of guys like Robertson.
That's a huge Parayko and Kyrou, that's really the 2 biggest names on their team right now. So it would be extremely expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
do it.
Could you go find a way to pry Justin Falk from the Blues, or maybe take a run at somebody else that you haven't seen yet, or maybe there's a defenseman out there that is on a team that you don't think is available that becomes it, and you can do that there.
Or last one, and then I'll let us all go here. If you're Glenn Gulletson and you're looking for motivational tactics, if you haven't somehow found them when we were talking about this, you go and you I've heard teams before where they've gotten depressed before because their GM didn't make a move for them. If you're Glenn Gulletson, I walk into that room tomorrow, Vegas thinks they're in, San Jose thinks they're in, their GM is going and investing in them because he thinks they've earned that. Go earn a move. Go earn a move right now. You guys
hey Sean. Sean, Pete DeBoer tried that. He said, we're not big enough along the walls. See you, Pete.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow.
He was just delivered the message the wrong way. That was the message works. It just has to be delivered the right way. So
and a great segue, because not Pete DeBoer, but the Boston Bruins with Steve Spott are in town. And they will be facing the Stars tomorrow. It's an early game, 6:30 Central Time. So that means Luds and I will be on pregame at 5:45, getting you ready for Stars and Boston Bruins. Sam will be over at the AAC. And we hope to see you then. For our producer, Ryan Vaughters, Sean Shapiro, Sam, the U Nestler, Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. T.O., thanks for the sweatshirts. Very generous of you. Happy MLK Day. We'll see you tomorrow night for Stars and Bruins.
I'd like to use
We all silly like the mayor.